Danny Welbeck's just walked past.
Oh,
Flashing.
When we play like this, we are hard to defend.
So you should look at me because you know I'm the one to be.
There's footballers out there.
Thanks for
Footballers
coming.
out there. Oh, this is too much. Oh, my.
I remember speaking to Declan Rice, like when we battered them, it's like, literally, we don't have a clue what we're doing. You lot are so good.
To go from there at the Withdean against Swindon to beating the mighty Manchester United to establish yourself in the Premier League, I think probably encapsulates the whole Brighton story.
Today, we're going to count down our top 10 favourite guests of 2025, which wasn't an easy thing to do. We had to leave out some very big names. Right, let's run through our top 10 in a countdown manner of podcast guests for 2025. And in 10th place is our number 10, Georginio Rutter, who I must say really did light up the podcast. This clip captures Georgie talking about how naturally the forward line connects, the movement, the understanding, and the instinctive football that makes them so exciting to watch. And we reference here the Bournemouth away game in November last year, where Mitoma and Joe finished 2 brilliant team goals. Here's Georginio Rutter.
I think we are hard to defend. When we play like this, even me against Bournemouth, I remember this game. I was like, wow, and I enjoy. You know, this is the more important. When you enjoy with your teammate, the football look easier, you know. And no, that game was very good. It was very good. And yeah, like you say, it's magical to play with. Because, you know, when you came for the new team, sometimes you don't play straight away. You have to wait your time. And me, they give me my chance and I take it. But yeah, I'm very happy to play with this type of player and enjoy my football.
When we mentioned moments like that at Bournemouth, it was Bournemouth away game, just to clarify that. Is that tactical or is that more relationship feeling?
It's natural.
Yeah.
I think it's natural.
Because your friend's off field.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody is friend. He is family. He's a good family. But I think it's natural. It's very natural. We didn't force it, you know, it was
beautiful.
Yeah. Even I think we didn't learn, like we didn't do this in the pitch the week before, like it was natural.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's happened good, sometimes not. But when we try, it's the more important when you try, you know. If you don't try, you're never going to have what you want.
Just quickly about your early career. Obviously, France, Germany, now England. Do you feel best suited to the English style of game?
It's different everywhere, you know, but I think Premier League is the best. Intensity, the best. And I think for me, yeah, but I didn't know before because I didn't play a lot in Premier League, but I think, yeah, Premier League is, you know, every best player play here, you know. So I don't know if Bundesliga was, I think for young people is very good. But after, if you want to have another step, you have to come in Premier League.
And that was Georginio Rutter there from the 11th of March.
Okay, number 9 in our favourite guests of the year is a journalist, but a very knowledgeable and well-connected journalist who finds things out, burrows away and tells you things you didn't know. So Alex Crook looked back at his favourite moments covering the Albion, from the Withdean days all the way to the Premier League, and even drops a great story about Tony Bloom joining the press pack for a beer. It's a brilliant outsider's view of how far the club has come. Here's Alex Crook.
I'd go probably right back to the days of the Withdean. That was when I first started to cover Brighton. Obviously, it seems a lifetime away from where the club is now. And I've got to say that I think the story of Brighton's rise is unique and fascinating in equal measure. But one of the games that really stands out for me, it was a midweek game at the Withdean. The press box was full to capacity, so I actually had to sit with my laptop amongst the fans. I seem to remember Fatboy Slim wasn't sat too far away from me. And it was the semi-final of the playoff game against Swindon when it looked like they were going to miss out. And then Adam Virgo, a good friend of mine now, actually I've worked with him as a pundit and a commentator. He scored to take the game to a penalty shootout, and obviously Brighton ended up winning, and that was a brilliant moment. I remember the win against my team, Manchester United, that kept them in the Premier League first time round under Chris Hughton, guaranteed survival, and what a way to do it. And to go from there at the Withdean against Swindon beating the mighty Manchester United to establish yourself in the Premier League, I think probably encapsulates the whole Brighton story.
The press generally have a very positive impression of this club, don't they? You know, when you're in the press box, and people talk about Brighton, they look forward to coming to games here, don't they? And they sort of, there's an admiration for the club and the way they do business, isn't there?
Absolutely, and the way that they've risen up, you know, a phoenix from the ashes. But there's great people here. You know, I've spent a bit of time with the owner, Tony Bloom. He came over to Germany when we were covering the Euros in the summer, and we had a good night out a beer keller in Berlin. There's not many Premier League owners that would come out, and you know, he was desperate to get amongst it with the fans and buy a few beers, so that was great. Obviously got to know Paul Barber really well down the years as well. Very open chief executive. Again, that's not always the case at a lot of the bigger clubs or so-called bigger clubs in the Premier League. I think the press team here get it right in terms of the access they're willing to give us. They're always coming up with innovative new ideas, and it means the club do get good press. And obviously they've played some great football under Roberto De Zerbi and now under Fabian Hertzler as well. It's a real success story, and PR-wise, I think they get it absolutely spot on.
Alex Cook there from our 15th of April episode.
Next up in 8th is Mickey Adams, one of my many former Albion managers. For this highlight, we're going to focus on Mickey's most famous signing as manager. He takes us back to the moment he decided to sign Bobby Zamora, even though he'd never seen him kick a ball. A gamble that became club folklore. Here's Mickey Adams.
The God's honest truth about Bobby Zamora is that we needed a big centre forward. And I'd rung round everywhere and I'd been scouting everywhere because I was doing the scouting as well whilst I was at the club. You know, we didn't have scouts all around the country. We had probably one or two, but if we wanted to look at players, then, you know, I went out and did it. But Bobby Zamora was somebody I took blind. I rang up Ian Holloway at Bristol Rovers, said, Ian, have you got a centre forward? I'm after a big centre forward. He said, Mick, we've got this young, gangly lad. He's just been at Bath, scored a few goals, he's come back, but he's not going to get in my team. And I said, well, how much is he on? He said, he's on £130 a week. I said, send him down. And I took him blind.
Yeah.
And he came in, and wow, the rest is history.
Mm.
When you say that story, it's just like, so what year would that have been? 2000?
Possibly, yeah.
Like, to think how much the game's come on in 25 years.
Yeah.
Like, where you can just watch pretty much every player in the globe at any level.
Yeah.
And you're calling Ian Holloway and taking someone blind.
Yeah. How lucky am I? He was.
How lucky were Brighton?
I mean, he was very, very clever. They said about Bobby Zamora, listen, he scored goals in the second division, but I'm not sure he's going to score them in the first. He went into the first division and scored goals. Then they said, I think he's a first division player and can he score goals in the Championship? Went into the Championship and scored goals, and then went into the Premier League and scored goals. Europe. But he was clever. And the one thing about Bobby was, like them all, when I pointed the finger at him at half-time or at the end of a game, they took it, you know. And Bobby, he didn't sulk. You know, like you hear so many stories now, he's lost a dressing room and all that. When you pointed the finger at Bobby Zamora and you wanted more from him, he'd give it you. You know, he didn't sulk. They were that group, like we've talked about already, were a hardened group.
Did that group make Bobby better coming into it as a young lad?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. He had a lot of growing up to do, Bobby, but he was intelligent. You know, he knew where to run. Paul Watson, for instance, you know, set piece wise, he could put it on a tanner, and Bobby would, you know, make his runs, and Paul would pick him out. You know, so he was very, very intelligent footballer, Bobby.
Mickey Adams there from the 20th of May episode.
Number 7 is the Albion goalkeeper, Bart Verbruggen. In this moment, Bart breaks down his matchday routine, beginning with the meticulous work he puts into preparing for penalties.
Yeah, we prepare for every game, and we look at a lot of different stuff. I'm not going to say it here because then the opponents might know.
Yeah, but effectively, when you step on the field of play, you'll know which way or you're going to go for whoever it may be.
Yeah, or I know when his run-up looks like this.
Okay.
You know, I look at a lot of different things, but you always have like the 5 or 6 penalty takers who are most likely to take the penalty.
Yeah.
And they're in my head, so I know them, and I know for example for Glenn I have a different tactic than for anyone else. But then there's also a couple that I might not know from the back of my head, and then I always have somewhere I'll let the people figure out where. But a little clue, you know.
What's the hardest thing for you to deal with, Bart? Would it be the one-on-one? Would it be the shot from long range? Would it be the quality of the finishing in the Premier League, the pace of the striker?
It depends who the one-on-one's with, Paul.
Exactly.
Well, absolutely. But which situation do you least like being in?
I don't know if there's a situation I would least like to be in, but I think if you come to that point of preparing for a game, that also goes for tendencies of strikers. So one striker finishes a 1v1 a little bit different than another one. One striker looks at the goalie a bit more, maybe dinks it a little bit more, or tries to be smart with it. And another striker maybe just puts his head down and shoots, you know?
Yeah.
So there's different approaches in that. So knowing your opponent going into the game gives you a good advantage as a goalie, because I think when I play Trossard, he's always smart with it. 1v1 finishes, he's really good. So I know if I go down early, he's going to catch me. So I know with him I have to be a little bit more patient, whereas with another striker, maybe I do get the chance to go down a bit earlier and make my shape bigger, you know?
Bart Verbruggen there from our 18th of February episode.
6th is Mark McGee. And something that really struck me about Mark is his face when he walked in the training ground. He couldn't believe that the facilities the football club had developed. We spent some time reminiscing about Albion's unforgettable playoff final against Bristol back in 2004. A fight for a place in Division 1. Was it Mark's greatest achievement as a manager? Let's find out.
I just remember the heat of the day. It was a lovely day. I remember arriving and the colour and the volume and the numbers of Brighton supporters that were at the game was just staggering, because remember, we're coming from Withdean where there was like 5,000 people every week and suddenly there was 35,000, you know. So it was very reassuring, but it was it was a great day. I played in 5 Scottish Cup finals, I played in 2 European finals, I played in other big games, and that is up there with any of them as an experience and as an achievement, and on the day, and travelling back after it, and that was as good as anything I ever experienced as a player, as a manager.
You listed a lot of playing bits off there. Was that the bit? Would you say that was the crowning glory of your managerial career?
Well, funny enough, I wouldn't, because I was talking to Fabian earlier, and I was saying to him, he asked the question, what was my greatest achievement here? And I said, actually, as much as the promotion was fantastic, my biggest achievement in my managerial career and my coaching career, I think, was the following season when we kept them up. If you looked at the record, you say, well, they win 5 games. Now, anybody looking at percentage would say, your win percentage that season was 15% or something like that. But for me, that was the biggest achievement, because it was impossible. We had the lowest budget, we had the Withdean Stadium, we were selling players, we were trying to raise money to fight the campaign for the stadium, all of that sort of thing, and yet at the same time we managed to stay up, only in the last game of the season, of course, but we did it, and for me that was an amazing achievement. I remember Gordon Strachan, he did a commentary on one of it must have probably the final, I think it was, and Gordon's one of my best friends in the game, if not my best friend, and still is. And he made the comment that he was convinced that if they did a count back, they would find that we were actually relegated. He says, I think somebody needs to check that. He says they didn't possibly score enough goals and that to stay up, but we did, and I see that as my greatest achievement.
And did you lean into that kind of punching above your weight narrative?
Yeah, because that when we were at Aberdeen, that was what Fergie had his hat on. The whole world were against us, but particularly the West of Scotland press, Celtic, Rangers. They didn't like travelling up to Aberdeen. We were the upstarts. So it was a siege mentality all the time with Celtic and Rangers. So he made us the underdogs all the time, and we lived up to that. We raised above that rather. And it was a little bit like that. Yeah.
Mark McGee there from the 24th of June.
At number 5 is Olympic legend and local hero Sally Gunnell. You think it's pressurised performing at the Amex in front of 32,000 people. Try being an Olympic athlete on the start line in front of the world. That is something else. Here's Sally on rivals, mental preparation and performing under extreme pressure.
Those big races, I was I was just like mellow. I was almost asleep in the call room. Some people would say, God, come on, shake yourself, get out there. Come on, what's the matter with you? But I was just in control and just knew. And it's just, it's like, I had a massive rivalry, didn't I? With Sandra Farmer-Patrick, American girl. And I'd got myself into such a great positive place where, she would just come into the call room, which is a horrible place, and she would just stand.
Sorry, can you tell me what a call room is?
So the call room is where you go. It's a small room before you walk out onto the track.
Altogether.
And it's literally all of you in this room. And it's a tiny room, and they check your numbers, and there's no sound. And everybody is psyching each other out. And I just remember on this day, Sandra's way of trying to win is to come and get in your face. So I was prepared for that, and this is where I was in such a great place. She just stood over the top of me like this, peering down on me, and I was in such a great place saying, so you should look at me because I'm the one to be.
So she was like trying to physically impose herself on you.
That's what happens. Physically try and get into your head. And that's what happens in this situation. It must happen in the tunnel before you go out.
Well, no, they don't just put us in a holding pen all together really tight.
And you're in here 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
30 minutes, sometimes longer. Yeah.
And there's like seats?
There's seats at the side, but some people chat. Some people don't. I used to hate, don't talk to me.
And it would have been the day before headphones, would it?
Day before headphones. Nobody had
Well, they do that now.
That's what people do now.
Yeah, okay.
And you just
keep yourself in your own bubble kind of thing.
But you still have people chatting. That's how people relax and whatever else. But there's still a lot of psycho.
I find that incredible that they put opponents together for 30 minutes. Imagine putting two boxers in a tight room together for 30 minutes before they go out.
So, funny you should mention this because I made a podcast the other day about Cohen Ovet. 800 metres.
Hold on, you've been cheating on us?
Yeah, sorry. I'm having an affair. 800 metres, Moscow, 1980, 800 metre final. They're in the call room for about half an hour. As you said, Seb Coe goes in early. He's sitting there and he's nervous, and everybody's looking at him going, he's nervous. He's the hot favourite to win this race. Ovet isn't the favourite. Ovet comes into the room so late that he almost gets thrown out of the race because he nearly misses the call. And he just breezes in at the last moment and goes, right, ready, lads? And Seb Coe's looking at him going, you've done me, sort of thing. Exactly. Seb Coe goes out there, he is nervous, and he gets beat. Ovet wins the 800 metres, upsets the odds. Big shock that Coe gets beaten. And that part of that was just call room psychology, which you've just described. Exactly. So interesting.
Who leads, who goes out first, who runs out, who swaggers out of the back. And you can't, that for many years I would have watched all that. And then in the end, when it all happens, you just do what's right for you. Yeah. And none of that gets into your head.
That was Sally Gunnell from our 7th of October episode.
Right, to number 4 on our favourite guests of 2025. Adam Webster, one of the club's most long-serving current players. We got great insight into training ground dynamics when a new manager arrives and how the players adapt to new methods. Here's Adam talking about the transition from Potter to De Zerbi to Hürseler, starting with the day Graham left the club.
I remember when Graham left, we were at the stadium training, and then it all happened really quickly, and we were like a family, and it was like quite tight because he'd signed pretty much most of the players at that point in the squad, so it was we were all quite sad when he left.
And you'd grown and adapted together.
Yeah, and we'd come a long way together. And then obviously Roberto comes in, and no one had really heard of him as players, I don't think. And there was a lot of like uncertainty as well. And it was a completely different. I remember the first couple of weeks training was completely different to anything we'd ever done before. And how he wanted me and Dunkey to stand on the ball with the studs on the ball and wait until you're closer than me and you are now, and then pass it. And we couldn't get our heads around it. We started to see how it worked, and then everyone bought into it. And it was tough, to be fair, to start with Roberto, because I think we didn't win until the Chelsea game, which was like his 5th game maybe. And
You got a draw at Liverpool,
We-
didn't you?
this
But
first
but he
game-
said that was Graham Potter's team, didn't he?
yeah,
Afterwards.
yeah, because I think we were still playing maybe a back five then, so we hadn't won, and like the pressure was getting creeping up, and then we battered Chelsea, and then everyone like bought into it, and also during that, I think that was when the Queen died maybe, and there was like a couple of things that happened, and our games got cancelled.
Yeah.
So like we didn't actually have many games, and it was a long period. But that probably helped us because we could train more. And then and that was the World Cup year as well, wasn't it? So the World Cup was in November or whatever. And then I think after Christmas we were flying, and
He was very particular on distances, wasn't he, between
Yeah.
everyone?
yeah, mainly just focusing on possession and how he wanted everyone's like specifically positioned on the pitch. And if one person was out, it would throw off the whole thing. And we would train it for hours. Like it was really repetitive, and at times it was boring. And it was like, oh, we're doing this again, because it's like with players, you just want to have a little fight. Sometimes you want to have a little fiver and have a bit of fun. Whereas it was never like that with him. But you could see how good we were from it.
On a Saturday when you cut through teams, it must have
Exactly.
been like,
I remember, I think, like, speaking to Declan Rice, like, when we battered them, he was like, literally, we don't have a clue what we're doing. You lot are so good. And it was like, that's like the best thing you want to hear, isn't it, when you're like on the pitch? So that just goes to show, like, it was boring and stuff, but it worked, and it was great. And then obviously when Fabian came in, it was different again. Like, it was a lot more intensity was massive. I know it's cliche, but you'd work just as hard in training as you did in a game. And again, everyone's bought into it. And you see, like last year, we did really well considering we had a lot of injuries and a lot of change at the club. So yeah, we're probably unfortunate not to be playing in Europe, really, from how well we did. But yeah, it's been very different, all three.
That was Adam Webster on the 23rd of September episode. And hopefully we'll hear more from Adam in the coming months as he's becoming a regular on the podcast.
So, to the top three, and kitman extraordinaire, Alex Buzz Burrows. And Buzz talked about his astonishing collection of first-team kits that he keeps in the boot room here. It's a treasure trove. Any fan going in there would be blown away by the variety of club and international shirts. It's his absolute pride and joy, and he talks about all of them with in huge detail and with huge love.
I'm a bit addicted to collecting shirts.
Yeah, come on. Who have you got in your office? Just been down there. I think this could be one of the best collections in the UK.
There's a good game. People come in, and like I said, quite often, and they just make their best 11s or 5-a-sides down there. So there's some great ones. I mean, there's some, like I say, kind of are really cool because of what they are or who they are. But there's obviously ones there that. So I've got all the ex-player ones. So everyone that's kind of left has pretty much sent a shirt from their new club, which is really nice. Got Glenn's in the corner, tucked behind the door, keep it away. Use it as a door wedge sometimes, just to.
If he ever spills a cup of coffee, he'll just like wipe it up with that.
Yeah. And then I've got Dunkey's one from his game against Scotland for England.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've got about 3 Alexis McAllister ones in there.
Argentina one.
Yeah, well, I got one Argentina one, a Liverpool one, and then to be fair, the other Alexis one I've got at home because from the World Cup, and then there's a picture of me and Alexis with the medal. So that's a pretty cool one.
Cool.
But I mean, the list is endless, Isak, Lukaku.
Yeah, Kane, Bayern Munich one, Son, Salah, Grealish.
It's one of those rooms, where if you're a football fan, you walk into and you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a kind of museum. You could
It
sell
is,
tickets,
yeah,
really.
yeah, that is what it is.
Yeah, it's cool, but I want more.
Who you after?
Messi and Bellingham.
You run out of time, Messi, no?
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to get into Diego.
Oh yeah, there's the connection.
The connection. That's how you get all of them, just connections. Yeah, Jude.
Bellingham, you should get Bellingham one.
Yeah, we're hoping so. Yeah, I'm sure he listens. So.
Yeah, definitely, Jude.
And Messi, of course.
If you listen as you're cruising through the streets of Madrid, throw us a shirt over for Buzz.
Yeah.
That was Buzz in our 10th of June episode.
And before I announce number 2, Paul, I think we'd probably both like to go on record and say that we didn't pick this top 10, did we?
We didn't pick them in this order, no. Not the 1 and 2, anyway.
Coming in at number 2 is Tony Bloom, the man behind the stratospheric rise of Brighton and Hove Albion, our chairman. So let's listen back to a little bit of our conversation, starting with what he says is his favourite part of being the chairman.
Well, I must say I love being chairman of this great football club. I love all the things that I do, but the best is, you know, when it comes to the weekend and going to the games, going to the Amex, going to the away games, just like all of our fans, really. I just love that experience. Don't always love it at 5 p.m. on a Saturday if we haven't got the right result. And there's frustration sometimes during the game, but the overall experience I absolutely adore.
Anywhere you particularly like to visit as an away fan?
I love going to all the grounds. They're all different. I haven't got one in particular. So I enjoy going to Wembley. That means we've made at least the semi-final. I haven't been to a recent final at Wembley, so hopefully that will come sooner rather than later.
Josh asked, was it always a dream to be chairman, or was there a sudden moment when you had the idea to buy Brighton?
Well, I've always been passionate about the football club, and I've always just been a supporter. And over the course of my life, my granddad was on the board and was vice chairman for many years in the 70s, and my uncle's been on the board for over 40 years. So it's always been there. But it was a gradual journey when Dick took over, and he was looking help with people to help financially when we had to pay operational costs of running the football club. The long journey to get planning permission cost a lot of money. And we were playing with Dean, well, Gillingham for 2 years and then with Dean, but there was very, very little income coming in. So myself and others were helping out in the background for a few years, but it was only really in 2005 that became more likely as planning was becoming nearer and they were looking at funding for the stadium, and there was going to be a shortfall from the banks, and I was almost the last man standing, able and willing to step forward. And then when it came to it in 2007 and the financial credit crisis came, then it needed more of my money. And then we got to the new stadium in 2011, and the MX has grown and got bigger and looks even better than it ever has done.
So not quite the eureka moment from Josh just thinking I want to be chairman one day. It was a progression.
Absolutely.
That was Tony Bloom on the 5th of August episode.
And our winner, the number one podcast guest of 2025, is a man you'll know well from Traitors. He just finished recording it before he came in to speak to us, but he kept very quiet about it. Joe Wilkinson, let's play you the moment I think all fans can relate to. Joe getting totally starstruck and falling apart the second the players walked past the studio. But first, here he is, talking about meeting your heroes.
I don't mean this horribly, but if I meet like an actor or a comedian or whatever from anywhere, I don't really care. But if I meet a footballer, like like a Walsall footballer or anyone, I find it overwhelming because it's just that. Because for me, they're living the dream. Mm. Do you know what I mean? It's like they've done that thing I couldn't. I found out at about 9 I was never going to do well. Do you know what I mean? And then I can't imagine what their life's like or what it's been like or what it's going to be like. I met Archie Gray, and he was still at Leeds, but he hadn't gone to Spurs yet. And everyone was talking about it, and all I could think was, "You're never going to work in WH Smith's."
Yeah, but also on the other, when you flip it the other way, they can never do what you do.
Well, I think anyone could, to be honest.
No, but it's true. Like, to be able to get up in front of people and make them laugh, that is an unbelievable skill.
Well, I can't do it consistently.
Archie Gray may buy WH Smith, by the way. He might not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he'll have a couple of branches, but it's too much for me to be around footballers. I find it so. And we met on Football Focus. Yeah. I could not get my head round I was on Football Focus because I've been obsessive about Football Focus my whole life. Literally, my missus said to it, like, because sometimes I have to do the chore, clean the house on the Saturday, and at like 12:15 she'll know 12:10 I'm not.
Cup of tea.
Yeah,
sitting down,
and there's no like, what are you doing? It's like, and it'll start again at 1. But I'm religious. I was like, and I kept saying to Lode, I said, "Are you sure this isn't a?" I'm not going to add. And same with your podcast. I'm not going to add any value here. I'm literally just a tourist. There's footballers out there. There's footballers out there. It's bloody hell. That's insane. Like, footballers.
Who have you seen now? Just top footballers.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Right. Please hide me. I'm blushing. Oh my god. Oh my lord.
Danny Welbeck's just walked past.
Oh, this is too much. Oh my god.
João Pedro.
Oh my god. All of them.
It's the A-list.
Oh, that was too much.
Joe Wilkinson there from our 18th of March episode.
Right, Paul, we've done the countdown.
Yeah.
10 to 1. Is there anyone within that 10 or outside that 10 that was your favourite?
The way I judge it, in a way, Glenn, is how much I learned from it. And I can honestly say that I learned a lot from every single podcast guest that we had through the door here. And this is the beauty of the series. I think people will learn things they didn't know from people coming in here and talking in a very relaxed and insightful and open and engaging way. So I think it's been a fabulous year. For the fans listening to this podcast, feeling at the end of each one, blimey, I know a lot more about the club now.
Steve just sat on the fence.
Yeah. That's my way of saying no.
What I will say is that I really enjoyed who has become the new face of Weight Rust, Joe Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Who we had in at number 1. But for me, and I don't know if it was an insight into another sport, was Sally Gunnell.
Yeah. Well, if you dragged me off the fence, I would have said Sally Gunnell, because when she talked about what it's like doing what she did in Olympic finals and the tension and the rivalry and the edge, it was so interesting. She took you onto the start line.
And when you mention learning something in each podcast, I learnt so much about athletics in that podcast.
Yeah.
I was bowled over by the process of a race.
She said one of the most interesting things as well when I said to her, I asked her about the physiology of modern footballers and how fit they are, and she said they all look like 400 or 800 metre runners to me. And that was a brilliant short description of how the footballer has changed as an athlete.